Talking about where we stand with this government shutdown this week, Senator James Lankford joining us here on Oklahoma Chronicle. Thanks so much for being with us, Senator. I know you wish that you were here in studio. You're busy out there in D.C. as here we are entering really close to record territory on this government shutdown length. Bring us up to speed. We are talking on Wednesday. Where do we stand right now?
Yeah, this what's called full government shutdown. In the past, has been a partial government where some of the appropriation bills have been done and some of them had not been. We're now longer than any other full government shutdown that's actually ever happened. The frustration is we still seem to be stuck in the same spot here where Republicans have said from the beginning, let's keep the government open. Let's keep it open at the exact same level that it has been for the past year, which, by the way, is still on Joe Biden's budget. So Republicans are saying, let's keep it open at that level while we negotiate. My Democratic colleagues have asked for additional climate change pieces, additional health care pieces. They want to debate a whole series of issues. We said we're glad to debate those, but let's not debate those while SNAP benefits are being cut off, while we're losing WIC benefits, while we're losing so many of these other things. Let's keep the government open and debate on those things. And so far, they've not been willing to be able to budge on that at all. They want to be able to solve everything before anything reopens on that. That's just not going to happen. It's very complicated, very technical. When you get into healthcare policy, especially, everything is connected on it. You can't do it quickly. And so we're saying if we're going to debate something, we need to do it while the government's open rather than closed.
I know Democrats, they are holding their ground on this because they feel like this is really the only leverage they have in the situation that they're in, that they want to get this health care, for example, this health care issue there where they want to extend health insurance subsidies for millions of Americans that were put into place during COVID for Obamacare participants there. They're doing this. They don't want to do a separate deal, as you mentioned. Is there an appetite on the Republican side to actually seeing those extended?
There are a few Republicans that are willing to be able to vote that way. What they're unwilling to say is we're going to vote on that way while the government shut down on it. And there's no way it actually votes the same way it is. As you mentioned before, this is not about the Affordable Care Act. Obamacare, Affordable Care Act, whatever you want to be able to call it, those subsidies all stay in place. Nothing changes about that. But in 2021, during COVID, when Democrats had control of the House, the Senate, and the White House, they added additional, on top of Obamacare, additional COVID-related subsidies on some insurance premiums for a few Americans. It's not all by any means, but for about 19 million Americans, they did an additional subsidy for them. They want to now make that permanent, even though COVID is over. But there's lots of problems with that particular subsidy that Republicans have raised and said, hey, we're not willing to just extend it. Number one, there's proven to be a tremendous amount of fraud into the billions of dollars in that particular program they put in during COVID. So we're not going to just extend that fraud, which is what they're asking to do. They also extend it to where any person could actually get this. It's not just people in poverty. People making $250,000 a year could get this subsidy as well. We're saying we have a $2 trillion deficit. We can't just extend subsidies to people making $250,000 a year and say we're going to also subsidize their health care. So we're not going to do that. And the Democrats actually did this a very strategic way so they could get around what's called the Hyde Amendment so that the special subsidies would go to pay for elective abortions as well. We've obviously said we don't believe federal dollars should be used to pay for elective abortions. So they want all of that just to be flat out extended. We've said absolutely no way. We don't believe federal funding should go for elective abortions. We don't believe it should go to unlimited amounts of income. And we don't believe we should just extend areas of proven fraud. All of those things, if they're even in discussion at all, will take quite a while to do that. Certainly it's not going to happen during a government shutdown.
All right, so speaking about the shutdown right now, I mean, are there more conversations happening this week than there were, say, 2 weeks ago, or are there less?
No, there are more. It's a growing conversation. It's a growing frustration here. And I think a lot of it is because we're seeing things like now, November the 1st, SNAP benefits go away.
Right.
So every single Oklahoman, and that's 600,000 plus, that receive some benefits from SNAP won't receive those. So we're raising the alarm bells to our Democratic colleagues. I understand you're trying to hold out to try to compel us to be able to do a COVID era subsidy. We're not going to do, but you're now hurting more and more people. Federal employees who are about to miss their second paycheck on this. That's a very big issue, whether you're federal law enforcement, work for FAA, work for Federal Housing Authority, work in so many different areas. We have a lot of federal employees that are in Oklahoma. Those folks are not getting paid now a second paycheck on that. That's a very big deal to their families. We understand the argument, but those folks should be held harmless on it. Quite frankly, Evan, I've worked for years on a bill called Preventing Government Shutdowns that would prevent us from having this moment, that would hold every federal worker and their family harmless, while we in Congress have to stay in session continuously 7 days a week until we actually solve our problems. Right now, it's literally the opposite, where federal workers and their families and the American people are the ones that are punished because we don't get our work done. It should be the reverse. We should be the ones punished and everyone else held harmless.
Well, I asked you about the appetite for health care legislation. Why was there not an appetite for your bill? Because I think for a lot of people watching right now, they say, well, that makes a lot of sense. Let's make it so we can't have these shutdowns. And it's not just the shutdown. It's the debate and the argument about potential shutdowns. It feels like every few months that we have time and time again. So why hasn't that gone forward?
Yeah, we had 13 of these moments during the Biden administration where we got up to the edge, but then did what was called a continuing resolution.
Right.
Where it just keeps the government open. We never had a shutdown during the Biden administration, even though Republicans, obviously, I disagree with the president, a lot of things a lot of other Republicans did. We said, no, let's keep the government open while we're debating on this. 2 years ago, I actually brought this bill up to prevent government shutdowns. I had 57 votes for it. I need 60 to be able to move it. And we were very, very close, but literally we were 3 votes away from us never having another government shutdown again. I continue to be able to try to win those last 3 votes. As strange as it is, the hardest thing to move in Congress is to change status quo. People would say, I don't like the status quo, but if you're talking about changing the status quo, everyone starts becoming afraid of the what ifs and what could happen if we change it. We know how bad this situation is. Could it even be worse under that? I smile and say, it couldn't be worse for the American people, for federal workers and their families. Let's hold them harmless. Let's put the pressure on us. I think it's pretty straightforward. I'm going to continue to work until I get to 60 votes, and so we can actually end this forever.
Well, the Senate is notoriously hard to pass legislation. That's how the founders set it up. And for people that don't realize the fact that they need 60 out of the 100 votes, that's the big reason why so much is happening. Right. About your bill, though, and the fact that you got 57 votes, what is the big argument against it? Is there one big one?
Yeah, the big argument against it really is about, will it work to actually hold people here every time? Because the way that it's shaped is, if we get to the end of the fiscal year, whenever that may be, and we haven't got our appropriation bills done, an automatic continuing resolution kicks in, so everybody's still paid status quo, but members of Congress and our staff can't travel. We're in session 7 days a week, and we can't do any other bill other than appropriations. So, for instance, this week, while we can't get moving on the ending government shutdowns, the Senate's working on confirmation of judges, which is a good thing to be able to get done. But under my bill, we couldn't do that. We could only do appropriation bills. We'd have to stay focused on one thing the whole time, and we would never be away. This past weekend, my Democratic colleagues, most of them left, went back home to be able to go to the No Kings rallies that were in their area to participate in that. I went back home and went to an OSU football game, quite frankly. If they were going to a No Kings rally, that wouldn't happen under my bill. We would all be here 7 days a week. And so when you put the pressure on us, there are some members of Congress that say, I don't want that kind of pressure. I want the flexibility on it. I say we should take the pressure off of federal workers and put it on members of Congress. We should be here 7 days a week until we solve the problem.
You're basically telling them you can't leave the dinner table, kids, until you finish your vegetables right there. Hey,
it's more than that. I tell you, my mom used to, when my older brother and I would get into a fight in the living room, she would say, take that out of the living room. You two boys go into your room, fight it out. When you're done, then you come back here.
Right.
It's basically, don't interrupt the rest of the family. Solve your problems over there. When you're done solving your problems, then you can come out. That's really what this is.
Well, all right. I got 20 more seconds from you here. You are notoriously straight. You know, you don't get too hot, too cold. But tell me personally, what is the frustration level for Senator James Lankford today?
Yeah, it's incredibly frustrating because this is a moment when grown-ups should be just sitting and talking to each other and solving a grown-up problem. These are hard issues. We do have differences of opinion, but quite frankly, that's why we're here in the Senate. The Senate's supposed to be the place where hard issues are resolved, and right now people are running to their corners, and a few people are talking. We need everybody out of their corners, back into the room to actually talk things out, solve this, and move on, because the American people are either not paying attention to this at all, don't care, or their family or a friend of their family or somebody they know at church is deeply affected by this, and they want this thing solved.
Senator James Lankford, we appreciate the time as always. Come on back to Oklahoma Chronicle anytime, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, glad to do it.